don't necessarily want to be on reality TV. You know, like I said, I never thought about being on a reality TV show. I always thought about just being in movies and you know, I really want to be in a movie where I can just be myself as Tanya, or not even as Tanya.
This is for real, y'all. So let's do this. We know what we gotta do. Sometimes we gotta suck it up. You ain't gotta be her best friend.
It's hard, just knowing that, especially when we're all together, because sometimes when you film one-on-one with others, that happens. You know?
Okay, y'all, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you is gonna hit real different. We all thought Little Women Atlanta was packed with drama on our screens, right? But baby, that was nothing compared to the chaos that was exploding behind the scenes. The cast, oh, they are finally telling their side. And let me just say, it's way messier, way sadder, and way more real than anything we ever saw on Lifetime. We're talking about producers pushing them to the breaking point, real mental breakdowns, betrayals you wouldn't believe, and these women didn't just leave with arguments, they left with actual scars. And honey, what they're spilling now, it's jaw-dropping. Stick with me because this story is just getting started, and trust me, you do not want to miss a single word. Let's dive straight into the juicy stuff. And no, I'm not talking about Miss Juicy herself. Now look, the show was famous for wild fights and explosive confrontations, right? But what if I told you a lot of that drama was actually manufactured? Yep. According to several cast members, producers were heavily encouraging them to stir up fights to stay on camera. Sources are saying cast members were straight up pressured to fake feuds, and if they refused, they risked being completely written out of the show. If you watched faithfully, you know how vicious those Miss Juicy versus Ms. Minnie arguments got. But what if so much of that was all planned behind closed doors?
I'm doing anything that I want to do.
Is there a problem?
Your problem is you need to stay back over
No,
there with
I
your
will stay right here. I will
Why would
stay
I
right
argue
here.
with you over
I will
that?
stay right here. I will stay
You know
right
what?
here.
I don't have time for that.
Toodles.
Turns out, the shady tactics behind the scenes were giving major Bad Girls Club and Love and hip-hop vibes, two other shows infamous for staging drama just to pull in ratings. It wasn't just pushing arguments either. Real physical fights broke out, and some of those injuries? Yeah, they weren't part of the script. Some cast members are now bravely sharing that what went down was so serious, it left them with actual trauma. This wasn't just TV anymore. This was real-life pain.
Oh, wait a minute! No! Oh, girl, baby. Okay. I'm bleeding.
Juice is bleeding.
It's two of y'all. It's just one of me.
And y'all, if you're thinking, well, it's reality TV, drama is part of the job, let me stop you right there. This wasn't your regular catty fight here and there. Some of these women were living on the edge, constantly trapped between real beefs and forced fake storylines. Imagine having to fake anger and sadness just so you can keep your paycheck. It messes with your head and it messes with your soul. Now let's get into the part that's gonna make your blood boil. The money, or should I say, the lack of it. Even though Little Women Atlanta was a hit, you'd be shocked to find out how badly some cast members were being underpaid. We're talking about stars who had to take second jobs while filming just to survive. Leaked contracts show the deals were so restrictive, it was practically financial slavery. They allegedly weren't even allowed to take other work opportunities. These women were trapped in a cycle they couldn't escape, all while the network cashed in big time off their pain.
But I got a real job that I'm about to go to.
I do have a
so
real job.
where I get paid.
Hey, ass bitch. That's the devil.
As if that wasn't horrifying enough. Let's talk about how little the producers cared about their mental health. Sources say producers were all about chasing ratings, and when it came to the well-being of the cast, crickets. Multiple cast members were pushed to the brink emotionally, battling crushing anxiety, spiraling into depression, living in constant fear. Reality TV is supposed to be stressful, sure, but this was a nightmare nobody deserved, and it gets even sadder. According to insiders, the show didn't even bother to offer therapy or counseling. One cast member allegedly had to check herself into a mental health facility during a filming break because the stress was that unbearable. Imagine every second of your life being broadcast, your worst moments put on TV for millions to judge. It's no wonder so many of them struggle just to get through each day. And let's not forget Miss Juicy and Money Cachette. Both of them have been painfully honest about the emotional wounds they carry from fame. Trolls, hateful comments, constant scrutiny, and it wasn't just a show for them, it was a psychological battlefield they had to walk through every single day.
Lost my mother. You don't care. I lost my mom. But I'm saying that's what care about my mom.
Now here's where it gets even uglier. The damage the show did to their real-life relationships. You know all those spicy romantic storylines we saw? Yeah, turns out a lot of those were straight-up fabricated. Imagine watching your partner flirt with someone else on national television. Not because it happened, but because producers wrote it into the script. One poor cast member allegedly found out about her partner's real-life infidelity after it aired on TV. Just think about the heartbreak. The tiny twins, Amanda and Andrea, also went through the ringer, especially with Amanda's messy, on-again, off-again relationship drama playing out under the spotlight. Meanwhile, Money Cachette's marriage crumbled in front of millions. And it wasn't just a storyline, it was real, raw heartbreak, made 1,000 times worse by the entire world having a front row seat to her pain.
Years under divorce. It's gone. It's a wrap. Enjoying every bit of my peace.
And when it comes to friendships, whew, reality TV is brutal, and Little Women Atlanta was no exception. The heartbreaking fallout between Miss Juicy and Ms. Minnie was one of the show's most unforgettable storylines, especially after Minnie's tragic passing. But the pain didn't end there. Even after cameras stopped rolling, Miss Juicy and Money admitted they struggled to cope, not just with Minnie's death, but with the messy, unresolved emotions the show had left hanging between them. Can you even imagine grieving your friend while the world watches your worst moments together on replay? And y'all, it gets even worse. Some of those friendships we saw, totally forced. Multiple cast members have spilled that producers would literally manipulate them into fake friendships, or worse, convince them to hate each other just to create more drama for the cameras. It wasn't just fighting for ratings, it was betrayal being manufactured behind the scenes. The emotional toll of being pushed into friendships and feuds they didn't even believe in left many cast members drained, broken, and questioning who they could even trust anymore.
This is the hair.
Come on! Since they call you little bitches! Since they call you little bitches! This is not the place or the time for it!
Stop!
And baby, if you thought it couldn't get worse, let's talk about the dangerous work conditions on the show. Yes, dangerous. Allegedly, production refused to adjust sets to accommodate the physical needs of the cast, most of whom were little people. Think about how insane that is. A show literally about individuals with dwarfism, and they didn't even bother to make the work environment safe for them. Instead, these women were forced to work on sets that weren't built for them, leading to accidents, falls, and injuries that could have easily been avoided. And get this, leaked emails show that even when cast members complained about safety concerns, production allegedly ignored them. One cast member reportedly slipped and fell during filming, and there were no medics on set. None. That's not just careless. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. It's horrifying to think about how little their well-being really mattered once the cameras started rolling. And
Ready? You turn the car on. Ah! What?
Wait a minute.
speaking of lawsuits, a former crew member who worked on the show allegedly spilled the tea. And y'all, it was scalding. They straight up described the working conditions as a lawsuit waiting to happen. If people working inside the show were saying that out loud, you already know it was bad, but wait, the plot thickens. There are whispers that a major R&B star, someone with some serious clout in the industry, actually reached out behind the scenes to warn one of the Little Women Atlanta cast members. The message: get out while you still can. And it wasn't just friendly advice. It was more like a desperate warning. And the name floating around? None other than Kandi Burruss from Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yep, Miss Kandi, who's been in reality TV long enough to spot the red flags from a mile away. If someone like Kandi was trying to warn the girls, you know it must have been bad. Because let's be real, reality TV can be toxic. And if someone with her experience was throwing out lifelines, you better believe it wasn't without good reason.
We're forced to be around each other, so it's just constant, you know. And it's getting worse and worse and worse.
And unfortunately, Little Women Atlanta wasn't the only show facing backlash. Across the board, reality TV like this has been slammed for promoting harmful stereotypes rather than celebrating the cast's real lives. People started asking, was the show really about sharing their stories? Or was it just about manufacturing the most explosive moments possible to keep people glued to their screens? Back in 2017, Refinery29 even ran an article questioning whether the show was exploiting its cast for cheap drama instead of uplifting them. And it didn't stop there. In 2019, blogger Desiree Lindsay called out Little Women Dallas, accusing it of being downright voyeuristic, like it was encouraging people to gawk at the cast instead of truly understanding their lives. She also pointed out how the show sometimes racialized and sexualized its cast members just to stir up more controversy, rather than giving them the respect they deserved. It's entertainment, sure, but at what cost? Tara Hole, a huge name from the franchise, did step up to defend the shows in 2019. She told Page Six that even though fame through reality TV was tough, she believed Little Women Atlanta helped raise awareness and visibility for people with dwarfism. She said the series helped break down stigma, made people with dwarfism more seen. And honestly, that's a fair point. But still, even with that positive impact, the question lingers: at what emotional cost were these breakthroughs made? Because when you look at how these women were portrayed, the constant drama, the messy relationships, the sensationalized fights, a lot of viewers couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. Even some die-hard fans admitted it. People who watched both seasons said the whole thing sometimes felt predatory, like the women weren't being celebrated, they were being exploited for ratings. And get this, some of the cast were barely over 21, some even younger, when they started filming. Producers still shoved them into deeply sensitive storylines, adding scandal after scandal, just to stir up more headlines. It wasn't about respecting their real lives, it was about setting fire to anything they could and watching the drama burn for entertainment. And the Little People community at large? They didn't exactly come out feeling respected either. The show didn't educate viewers or create real empathy. Instead, it turned very real, very human people into characters for public consumption. It got so bad that Hollis Andrews, who was supposed to be one of the stars of Little Women LA, quit the show before her time even began. She said straight up, Hollywood was mistreating little people, and she refused to be part of that system. Honestly, can you blame her? No one, absolutely no one, should have to sacrifice their dignity just to be on TV. Now that the cameras have been shut off for good, what are the women of Little Women Atlanta doing with their lives? Some have managed to slip back into low-key lifestyles, trying to heal and move forward. Others are still riding the waves of the fame the show brought them, for better or worse. Miss Juicy? She's still a media personality, living loud and proud and never letting us forget her iconic catchphrase, "It's Miss Juicy, baby." Meanwhile, the tiny twins, Amanda and Andrea, have leaned heavy into their influencer careers, still stirring up drama occasionally, but this time on their own terms through social media. They're creating content, building their brand, and making sure they own their narratives now. Money Cachette? She's walked a different path. Instead of chasing the spotlight, she's pivoted toward advocacy, using her platform to speak up about real issues that matter to her. She's done playing the reality TV game. She's focusing on what's real, what's healing, and what's good for her soul, but still, for many of the cast, the emotional, physical, and financial scars from Little Women Atlanta, they'll never truly fade. The betrayal, the exploitation, the heartbreak, all the things that happen behind the glamour of TV, they're still there, lurking under the surface. The show gave them fame, sure, but it also cost them so much more. Their peace, their safety, their dignity at times. And that's something money, followers, or a few thousand likes can never fix. So what do you think? Were the women of Little Women Atlanta exploited by the people who were supposed to protect them? Did the producers cross the line chasing ratings? Or is this just the price of playing the reality TV game? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below because, honey, we need to talk about it. And while you're at it, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe. Because trust me, the way these stories keep unfolding, we're just scratching the surface. And I'll be right here spilling every juicy, heartbreaking, jaw-dropping update as it comes out. Stay tuned, fam. This saga is far from over.